Hi, and welcome to the Design Find podcast, a space where women are interviewed and in conversation to discuss the highs, lows, and everything in between about being a woman in design. The Design Find has new episodes every Monday, so make sure you come back every week. You can find more on the Design Find podcast Instagram. Hope you enjoy this episode. Hi, and welcome to the Design Find the podcast. Today we have Fiona, and she's going to be sharing with us her journey in the design field. So welcome, Fiona.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
To start, can you please introduce yourself, what you're doing, and kind of just all about yourself?
Hi, I am Fiona Co Chan. I am the founder of Youthforia. At Youthforia, we make makeup that's so good for your skin. You can sleep in it. During our process of developing the brand, I actually slept in all of our makeup. Also made my husband sleep in the products too, because I really wanted makeup that you can sleep in. I started the brand right when COVID started. I was living at Hong Kong at the time, and I just remember, I think it was like 1 week of not being able to go out and see people and see my friends, that I realized for me, makeup was all about going out, getting ready to, have a good time with my friends. And I am someone who, if I'm out with my friends, I'm going to fall asleep in my makeup. I've been doing this since I was 18. I am still doing this. And so I just wanted products that, felt like they were like an extension of my skincare that I could wear at all times of the day and still feel safe and have fun with it.
Well, yeah, I think that kind of catches everyone's eye, that it's because everyone's told their entire life, take off your makeup before you sleep. It's bad for you. So I think that's a really cool niche that you have. How did the inspiration strike? Did you have any background in makeup? How do you kind of just start this project?
No, I had no experience in beauty or the industry prior to this. I was working in tech, and actually, through that job, I was traveling to some of the most polluted cities in China, and like I would sleep in N95s, and this was like years ago. This was before COVID, and no one was really doing stuff like that. And it was like through that experience, when you're like in a place where you can see like pollution inside your hotel room that has an air filter. Um, all your normal skincare and makeup just doesn't work. Like everything was just making my skin react. And so I really wanted something that I could wear and feel safe with. And I remember every time I slept, I would tell people that I fell asleep in my makeup again. The looks that I would get from my friends, they would say like, I can't believe you did that. I hated feeling guilty. I also like I honestly really like taking time to do my skincare routine, and I really enjoy that part of my day. And I was always wondering, like, am I ruining my skin just by wearing makeup? Am I ruining all this effort? So I really wanted makeup that, like, if I wore it, it made my skin better over time.
So, how did the whole color scheme, the name, how did it all from your idea of, oh, I want makeup that I can sleep in, how did it all allude to what Youthforia is now? How'd you kind of go through the process?
Yeah, so the name was something where, so it refers to this emotion that I feel like a lot of people have had. The way I describe it is like in your adult life, you have these really happy, blissful moments that take you back to your favorite childhood memories. For me, it's like I'm at a music festival and it reminds me of the first time being at Disneyland, or it's like having a meal that's so good, it reminds me of something my grandma might have cooked. I always thought that this emotion was something that everyone has experienced, but there's no name for it. So I named that emotion Youthforia. And for me, I really wanted that excitement, that feeling to translate into all of our products. Our packaging is very nostalgic. It is they're kind of very bright colors, and they kind of remind you of toys. This was really intentional because I just wanted something that felt fun and playful, but also still kind of elevated, and something that we didn't take ourselves too seriously. I remember when I started the project, um, I was looking at how to make everything white, or it was pink and white, and I was like, I just want something that's more colorful. And I really felt like I was missing that, especially when I was in quarantine during the very early days of the pandemic.
So, when you came up with this idea, did you leave your job immediately, or did you kind of hash it out and see, oh, wait, maybe this plan can really work?
No, so I actually stopped working for the company I was previously working at, like probably about a year for something like sabbatical, didn't know what I wanted to do. Knew that I wanted to start a business, but didn't know what. So I was in tech, so I thought maybe I'll start a tech business. That's something I know. What really happened was a pandemic happened, and it was like, well, what can I really start from? My apartment. What can I start from? Hong Kong. Previously, I was like living in the U.S., and I was like, what can I really do? And I just kept coming back to this idea that I really wanted to do a makeup brand. When I was actually in college, I was getting an econ degree, and I was like, I really want to go to makeup school, and I don't know why. And it's funny now that it's come full circle. Um, but yeah, I remember just being like 18 and like, I really want to go to makeup school. My mom will kill me if I did that.
And did you go to makeup school?
I did. When I started the brand, I would actually go to makeup school every weekend. So while I was like starting the brand, learning how to formulate, I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to like apply makeup like a makeup artist would. I wouldn't call myself a makeup artist just because I just don't do that for every day. But I really loved learning the techniques. I learned so much about how you have to blend products, and it almost made me think if we just made better formulas, you wouldn't have to know how to blend so well. So a lot of our textures specifically are like made to be really easy to use.
And do you think what you learned in university, like econ or your job previously, helped you in this business at all?
Yeah, so what I used to do was I used to work for like a tech startup, and what I liked about that experience was that we were selling like and making like software that was just pretty like cutting edge at the time. It gave me a lot of confidence of basically you don't need to have experience to do something. If you create something that's never been done before, your experience doesn't matter. And that's something I've always have taken away. So it's almost like for me when I was younger, always suffered from like imposter syndrome and always had that self-doubt. When I started Youthforia, I was like, well, if I do something that no one's ever done before, makeup you can sleep in, makeup that acts like skincare, makeup made without fossil fuels, like there's no reason for me to not feel confident going into it.
And when you had this idea, how did you start formulating, creating the packaging? Did you all do this all by yourself, or did you start hiring a team, a chemist?
Yeah, so we do work with a lab, and then in terms of like packaging design, I was drawing this with a ruler on a piece of paper. It
Oh.
was very lo-fi. I have some of these pictures up of like me like actually just drawing and measuring. Like I think it should be this, height and these many dimensions. And a lot of the manufacturers are great. Like they'll translate what you draw on paper into something that's more digital, and it's a iterative process.
And were you always drawn to design and colors? And how did you make that kind of one of the primary factors of Youthforia? Because I think when you look at it compared to any other makeup brand, that is one of the first thing that draws your eye. Compared to other makeup brands, it's usually all black and white. So how did you kind of incorporate it as one of the primary concepts of the brand?
Yeah, color was just something that I always wanted for part of the packaging. I was very inspired by what some of the fashion houses were doing, and it was very bold and very fun and very nostalgic. And I just felt like beauty was missing that. It was very monochromatic, it was very black and white. And I was like, I just want something that like screams fun. Makeup is fun. It's not for me. It's not about like covering up imperfections. It's like a form of self-expression that you can do, and you can change how you look like every day, and that's really cool. So I wanted something that always felt playful, and for me, color is playful.
So going into this, how did you decide what type of products you wanted to launch, what you think would be beneficial, what you thought would be like you would stand out in your company? How did you kind of go through that?
I think we went through, I want to say like close to 100 formulas, probably more to be honest. I don't even know. We've lost count of like products I didn't make. I have a big closet of just rejected formulas. I didn't know what I was going to make initially. I tried different things in different categories. Like we're best known for our color changing blush, and I remember thinking like I really want to make a universally flattering blush. How do I do that? And one day like it really just hit me like we should make this color changing, we should make this in oil, and no one had really done that before. So like that formulation process was really difficult because it was like no reference, like no idea how to actually do it. It took a couple tries for it to actually work and be good. Some of our early formulas were just not cute, but I think when we saw the formula that we ended up going with, it was like like you can just tell it was something so special. And then I slept in it. And then just seeing my skin the next day, I was like, wow, like I was pretty blown away. And that's kind of when we knew, okay, this is something we're going to launch with. It's going to be really, really different. Like, let's see how that goes.
And what was kind of the timeline from when you got this formula until actual launch day? Like, what else did you need to do? You had to have a website, kind of some pictures taken, you needed like the packaging. What else did you really need?
Yeah, like picking a formula to actually when it launches, it's usually about like a year, sometimes a little bit longer, depending on, what else you have going on. It's always, you're always kind of waiting in terms of like manufacturing. Manufacturing is a waiting game of trying to wait until you can actually get on the manufacturing line. So that's always been very difficult. And then of course, yeah, we didn't have a business beforehand, so like doing our first photo shoot, like launching the website, these were all things that we did for the very first time. So it took a lot longer. I think now to launch a product, it doesn't take quite as long in terms of like the marketing and in terms of like photography, that type of stuff we know how to do really well now. But yeah, I remember like that first. I remember just thinking like, damn, this takes like a long time. Um, but I'm sure for other other companies that they have a pretty long timeline as well.
And how did you kind of get help and share this idea, but also like be in control, make sure people knew your vision, but also kind of freelancing other aspects of the brand?
I think what's interesting is that I remember the very early days when we were getting freelancers to kind of help out, like they were just the people that we still work with them today. I mean, they were just pretty on board. They're like, this is really something unique and really cool. Um, yeah, but it's I've just been very fortunate to work with great people.
And when it came to the launch time, what was kind of your business model of how you're going to get people to buy this and how people are going to know about it?
I literally had no plan at all. And this is what's really funny is that when you launch a business, if you don't have like a marketing plan, I had no marketing plan. You launch your crickets. And really like the first few days, they're really tough because you're like, man, I just spent a whole year doing this. I don't know if it's gonna work. It took a while for us to pick up traction, but I do remember the first customer that wasn't my mom and it wasn't someone I knew. I was really excited. And then we started getting picked up by press. Like things started building up, but I honestly had no plan. And that's
And
what I regretted.
yeah. And now, how do you kind of use social media? If I don't know if you have Instagram, TikTok, how do you use that to get people to buy your product?
Yeah, now like social is really big for us. TikTok has been huge. Instagram Reels has been huge. Our products are inherently very visual, and I end up creating a lot of content for our social media. It's just been great because it's a great way for me to answer customer questions directly with a video. So now, I mean, it's like probably like our biggest source of marketing.
And what did you kind of do to make sure that you knew what your target audience was and what you wanted out of this brand?
It took a while for us to really know. Like we had some guesses, and it took a while until we actually had data. So it took a couple months until we were like, okay, this is actually what our customers want. A lot of times, we're just looking at our comments and we can kind of tell, okay, like these are like the type of questions people ask. What's interesting about our customers, because we're kind of like this skincare makeup hybrid brand, is sometimes like our customers are the girl who is like the girl who loves skincare and has never worn makeup. Sometimes we have a lot of guys because like our products are pretty versatile in that way. And then sometimes we have girls who love makeup now starting to get into skincare. So it's like kind of a blend. And I always just try to, answer questions in a very easy and digestible way.
And how is it that you make products that like help your skin and that they're good for you?
Yeah, so a lot of what we do, what's really challenging is that in makeup, you want really good textures because that gives you performance and it gives like a really nice sensorial experience. And you want like something that like lasts all day. In skincare, like you don't actually have to be as strict about textures. So what we do is we invest a lot in texturing ingredients. We try to make sure that things work. A lot of times we use actives. Actives are basically ingredients where if you put a percentage of it, it's like proven to do XYZ for your skin. You see that a lot in skincare. So we add that concept into makeup, and a lot of times this can change the texture. So it's always a balance between finding ingredients that have a function that
So, what do you think are kind of the next steps for Youthforia, and what else do you hope for in the brand?
Well, I'm pretty openly working on a foundation line. That is something that I've always wanted to do as soon as I had the idea for the company. But I would love to do a full face of Youthforia makeup.
I think foundation would be so cool because that's especially like the number one. It's like because most like foundation is like paint. You wouldn't want to put that. So most people don't even want to put it on. Like for sure, I don't like foundation. Like it's gross. You sweat. And then especially sleeping in it. So I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's definitely my most exciting project, and what I'm spending a lot of time doing right now.
So, what do you think you do in the brand that you do yourself versus things that you can't do and you have to get help for?
I think, I end up touching a little bit of everything. I don't do a lot of our like, logistics and things like that. I do get help from my husband, but anything that's like product or marketing, I love doing that. So I'll always like have some some hand in that. And a lot of times, once we kind of like come up with a design language or like our POV, obviously I have like a team that helps me kind of execute on some of that vision.
So, you kind of touched on a design language. Can you explain for those who don't know and how you implement that?
Yeah, I think like what's really interesting about design, and I love like design systems and design languages, is that you can really like you can really show a lot of information just visually. For us, we're pretty obsessed with the color wheel. Like everyone on my team gets trained on the color wheel because it's interesting because you can do so much and share so much information, like emphasize the important points with the way you design. If you look at our Instagram grid, it's pretty aesthetic. If you look at how we even do our photo shoots, it's all very intentional. And I like to think about like our aesthetic as a way that it can evolve over time, so every product launch will always kind of extend the brand a little bit, not too much, so that not too much in the way that we're completely rebranding every time, but you'll see like an evolution of the brand as we launch more products.
And what is your intention in the design of your product?
I think I always want something that just feels fun and fresh, and I don't take it too seriously, but it's nice to kind of change it up a little bit visually every single time we launch a new product, or if a slightly different creative direction for each half of the year. Something like that fashion houses do a lot. I like bringing that into beauty as well.
And so, what do you think your style is in terms of design? Maybe how does that differ from you personally versus for Euphoria?
I think Euphoria, I mean, like we love maximalism, but it's kind of interesting because Euphoria, like sometimes they'll take on, a clean look, a clean minimal aesthetic, and sometimes like paired in a different background, it looks very maximalist, very fun, very party girl. And for me, I think I'm the same way where like I'll just change my aesthetic depending on my mood. Like even sometimes I'll change my like complete aesthetic 3 times a day. I think Euphoria also does that, and that was always intentional. I always wanted it to kind of just like fit in wherever, wherever and however you feel.
And when did you know that this was like, oh, this is going to be a big project? I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go into this and this is going to be my full time thing?
I think probably when I started it, because I just feel like if you're gonna do something and you're really passionate about it, it's great to like just put in all your creative energy into it.
And when did you know slash like expect that this was going to be like a full on brand that also was with makeup, but also incorporated with skincare?
I think that was always something I wanted to do. It was like I remember something I always asked myself is like, does the world need another XYZ? And most of the time the answer is no. But I was like, if I do something that's really different, something that I really want and need, like our blush, like there's no other blush that has the same like kind of like natural highlighter effect. Um, and our primer, there's no other primer that does what it does. That was when I was like, okay, this is really interesting. It's also just interesting for me to work on things that don't exist in the world that I think that there's a real need for.
And so, what do you think is something that you want to see more of, either the makeup field, the skincare field, kind of the design field within that you would want to see more of?
I would love to see packaging, take on more fun. I think, it's been very minimalist for the longest time. And I think just kind of switching it up, adding different design inspirations will be really interesting. I think, in cosmetics, it's actually you don't see a lot of differentiation, not really. It's all very, very similar, but and you see like in fashion, like so many different design inspirations, different eras being represented. I would love to see that in cosmetics. And then in terms of like formulations, obviously I love anything that benefits the skin. Like if you're doing makeup and you have a skincare element, that's really cool.
And as you are kind of like this makeup skincare brand owner, how do you view other makeup or skincare companies differently now? Can you really see through them like, oh, this stuff is really bad, or oh, this stuff is actually good and we should look into that?
Yeah, I can read an ingredient list very easily now. And so every time, if it's like I have a little nephew, if it's like they'll ask me, "Hey, is this good? Is this not going to be good?" And I can pretty much scan an ingredient list really quickly. I can like look at formulas on the back of my hand and know kind of like where the ingredient list would lie. So I'm now like I just have too much knowledge.
So now, obviously, there's not every single product at Youthforia yet. How do you kind of, what is your like key takeaways of what to look for when you're looking to buy a new makeup or skincare product that is good for you and good for your skin?
I think a point that I really want to emphasize is that everyone's skin is really different. So, what I like to do is actually look at how it's reacting to my skin versus just blindly listening to advice of others, just because everyone's skin is really different. And if you're going through different things like hormonal changes or your skin's extra sensitive, like you might look for different things. What I like to look for is like how fast like for skincare, like how fast it absorbs into skin. And I like to see like if the next day my skin looks better or like that's usually a pretty good sign. If it's irritating my skin, I just will toss it. For makeup, I always test everything on the back of my hand because if it doesn't look good on the back of my hand, if it looks cakey on the back of my hand, it's not gonna look good on my face.
Do you have any other tips about applying skincare or what kind of the order of skincare should be? Like nighttime, morning? Yeah.
Yeah, I think generally you want to follow like thinnest consistency to thicker consistencies. Sometimes if your skin's very sensitive, you might not want to use a thicker consistency because you always want to hydrate your skin. But I like to always like massage my face because adding that blood flow just makes everything absorb better and then makes your makeup go on better. And I what I like to do is actually I like to test the order of like all my skincare and makeup on the back of my hand to make sure that they all interact well because sometimes you can have pilling and it's just from the interaction of like the layers of skincare and makeup you're using.
And you kind of mentioned massaging your skin. So you mean with like a gua sha. What do you see? Because I've seen this on your Instagram. And what are kind of the benefits of that? And why should people do that, especially before applying skincare or makeup?
Yeah, so when you massage your face and you do something like gua sha, what it does is it actually encourages microcirculation in the area underneath your skin. And for skincare, this actually helps your products get absorbed more easily. So like what you'll notice if you ever do it on the back of your hand and you just like are rubbing the back of your hand, you'll notice that it doesn't stay like a film for that long. When things don't get absorbed, it's kind of like a film like layer on the top of your skin, so it's not getting absorbed. This just helps your products penetrate more deeply. And then for makeup, it basically, I don't know, just creates like this nice surface where the makeup can kind of grip to your skin versus being like a film.
So you're obviously very knowledgeable about all makeup and skincare. How did you learn all of this, or was it kind of on the fly? And where would you recommend others to learn more about this?
Oh my gosh. I think I learned a lot of it from makeup school and also from formulating and working with our product developers. A lot of the content I try to make on the Youthforia TikTok account is just things that are like less commonly known. So like I'll always talk about like what to look for, like basically what we just discussed. Things that are like less commonly like things where like not as many people are making content on that I find pretty interesting.
So going kind of in big scale, what is your biggest achievement, you think?
Um, I don't know, I'm really proud of the primer that we made. I didn't think something like this was possible. So when I made the primer, I wanted something that could protect my skin from other brands' makeup. 'Cause I'm very, very good ingredient. And so when we found something, the formula that works and also like a really nice texture, I was so happy because now I can I could wear a lot more stuff, and that just makes me happy.
And were you always struggling with skincare and makeup previously to this, or you kind of just saw a gap in the market and wanted to create?
Yeah, I always struggled. Had really bad acne growing up and also had really sensitive skin. I remember going to the hospital a couple of times with full blown like skin reactions to makeup. So it's always been an issue for me.
Um, so what is your best wisdom or advice for someone looking to be in the makeup or skincare industry and how to kind of differentiate themselves?
Yeah, I think, if you have an idea and you really want to go into the industry, absolutely go for it. I think you'll learn a lot about yourself and you'll build resilience over time. If you ever want to start a company, just do it. And then if you are like thinking about like how do you differentiate yourself, think of things that you actually want that don't exist. I think, a lot of the entrepreneurial journey is about it always goes back to like, your ideas and what you want to exist in the world. And I think like that really translates to customers as well.
So, as one of the last questions, how do you think design being implemented in Youthforia elevates the brand?
I think what I like about our design is that you can really see our core values. Our core values is fun. Like I try to incorporate that into everything that we do, even like the culture of the company, how our products perform on customers. What's that experience when they first receive our products? I think you can use design in a way that really speaks to your brand's mission, your brand's values, and it translates really well for customers when that design is very authentic to what you're trying to show.
So, last but not least, what do you want? What is the future for yourself and also Youthforia for the next 5 years?
I think I would love to just see Euphoria grow. There's so many products that I really want to make. I haven't even started working on them yet, and I love making products that just don't exist. I can't wait to, I don't know, come up with some other crazy ideas.
Well, thank you, Fiona. It was so great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Hey, I hope you loved this episode. If you did, rate and review on Apple Podcast and Spotify, or send it to people who you would think would be interested in listening in. You can learn more about the guests in the show notes or on the Design Find Instagram. The Design Find podcast is under the Entrepreneurs Network.